We've all been in situations where we've tried to have a conversation in a crowded room. It can be really hard to hear or understand the other person. But how do you know the difference between just too much noise or possible hearing loss? I got answers from local audiologist Dr. Gnewikow.
Generally, if you hear reasonably well in a face-to-face, one-on-one environment, but you get into a crowded restaurant and you have a lot of difficulty, it most of the time means you have a high-frequency hearing loss. What happens with a high-frequency hearing loss is you're still able to hear some of the strong speech sounds, generally the vowel sounds, but some of the high-frequency consonants are very weak and you don't pick them up because some of the background noises tend to cover those up. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, you almost get the impression that people aren't speaking distinctly, when in fact it's not the people's voice, it's actually in the ear of the beholder. So it's important, if you're having trouble in noise, to get it checked out. Almost invariably, what you find is the person has a high-frequency hearing loss. A lot of people say, well, I hear fine under normal circumstances, but then when you check it out, you find that the high-frequency hearing loss is really what's causing the problem. There are other issues. There are issues of attention and things like that, but the first thing you want to do is get the hearing checked to make sure you have not lost the high-frequency hearing.
Now, what about for folks out there that are noticing that and maybe their spouse, you know, what is some clear-cut signs that they can kind of bring this up and put it in a nice way and a nice bow that says, honey, you know, maybe you need to go to the doctor?
Yeah. I think that has to be handled on an individual basis. Most people, particularly men, are a little self-conscious. And they say, oh, I don't want to get a hearing aid. They say, well, the first thing I'm going to do, they're going to try to put a hearing aid in my ear. And that really might be what needs to be done. But it could be a symptom of something else. You could be having high-frequency hearing loss because you have another medical issue. So I think the first thing you do is find out if there really is some damage to the inner ear in the high-frequency range. It can come from bad things. Occasionally you can have acoustic tumors that can cause this. Although in general, the main causes of high-frequency loss are age and background noise, not background noise, high-intensity noise levels. So if you've worked in a factory for a number of years and you say, well, I've worked there and I didn't wear my earplugs on a regular basis and now I'm having trouble in noise, it generally means you probably have damaged those neurons in the high frequencies.
So then you come in here, you talk to you find out that you do have this high-frequency hearing loss. What is the solution then after that?
Well, the first thing you do if you have a high-frequency hearing loss is you see if a high-frequency hearing aid will help. They generally do. We use what are called directional microphones, which means if you look at the person you want to hear and you put the noise behind you, they will be amplified more than the rest of the room. Hearing aids will not eliminate all of the background noise, but it's pretty much like a flashlight. If you shine a flashlight on an object in a dark room, the object is the most illuminated object in the room, but everything else is illuminated to a certain degree. And a directional microphone basically does that same thing.
And you were talking earlier too about some people just saying, I don't want a hearing aid, but I want to make a point of showing that you can't even tell you have them at all.
Yeah, I wear hearing aids. I have one in each ear and they're hardly visible. And a lot of people are a little reluctant about it, but interestingly, once you get to the point where you show people the difference that they can have in their understanding, most of that goes away.
That's a very good point, because the quality of life, because think of all the things you might be missing.
Right.
The voice of grandchildren,
Right.
you know, what people are saying specifically, and you might be harming your relationship.
Right.
There's a lot of issues.
Yeah, that's true. And basically, if you evaluate it and determine whether there really is a problem there, you may not have a problem. It may simply be an attention problem. There's some other things that you can do in noise. If you're watching television together, mute the TV when you talk to each other, or don't play your car radio if you're trying to communicate, because the more interference, the more difficulty you'll have in background noise. Look at people. We all lip read to a certain degree. Sit in a quieter place in the restaurant. All of those things will tend to help. Have your spouse or your family members talk a little slower when they talk to you, particularly in background noise, and that seems to help as well.
And if you have any hearing questions, you can call Audiology Hearing Aid Associates. They have 2 area locations, one on Langhorne Road in Lynchburg, 434-528-4245. Also in Danville on Main Street, 434-799-6288. And for more general information, digitalhearing4u.com.